We have done it! 200,000 followers on the Sweet Baby Inc detected Steam Curator. Super quick recap. Sweet Baby Inc themselves, they are a video game narrative consultancy service, and what they do is their fine employees, they are hired to inject their own politics, worldviews, little narratives into video games, and they will touch up the script, and they'll essentially ensure that your games are following the message. You're doing all of the right things. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. This curator, this group, it will basically filter out, it'll let you know about all the games that Sweet Baby Inc are involved in, and you'll see some familiar faces. Assassin's Creed, Gotham Knights. More recently, Suicide Squad. So, a lot of mainstream games, but also a lot of smaller ones where you just might not sort of think about that too much. You might not sort of notice that they've got their claws in there. Sweet Baby Inc. So it's very nice, as we can see it hits the thumbs down, not recommended on these games. And that very much angered many groups of people. As soon as this group started gaining traction, it was at 150k or something 2 days ago, it's jumped up again, over 200,000 now. It's popular because people do not like Sweet Baby Inc. They are sick of this. And this whole thing isn't really just about Sweet Baby themselves, it's just this whole idea of video game companies not putting the entertainment first, but instead focusing first and foremost on putting politics into games, pushing these messages. It's all about all of our worldviews. The entertainment doesn't matter because there's more important things. Us as gamers, we just want to play a good game. That is what it is about for us. And this sort of curator, this group, is just helping get the message out there that we've had it with this nonsense. We are tired of it. It, of course, angers the usual crowd, and today we're going to talk about Kotaku because, surprise, surprise, they're outraged, they're melting down, and their reaction has made them look like clowns, which isn't saying much. They do a good job of that themselves day in, day out. But first of all, I just want to mention some not so great news about what's going on with the curator. It is very disappointing, but essentially, the person who created the group, Shadow Alex, he put a post up that says, I'm going to have to delete all posts for now. Well, Steam support just sent me a message that this group is receiving a lot of reports and might get deleted. So to avoid this, I'm just going to delete all posts, because if this group falls, the curator page falls as well. I'm sorry, guys, but for now, no more new posts until it's resolved. And I believe what he's talking about is in Steam groups, you might have the purpose of it, which is the curator, that it will detect Sweet Baby games and you can avoid them. But there's also a bit of a message board where people can make posts and they can have a bit of a chat about this. Now, most of that was totally fine. However, there have been a number of bad actors who've gone in there and they've sort of acted up, I think, on purpose. They've gone over the top in what they've said, whether they've sort of genuinely been racist or they've said something, I'm not 100% sure. But it was purely with the purpose of trying to get this group banned from Steam. They will say anything. They'll genuinely say disgusting stuff to try and get this page taken down. Even if they're hypocrites, they'll bang on about Islamophobes, but they'll say that stuff themselves just to get this group banned. They've got zero self-awareness. So I really think that's what it is. I don't think actual fans of the group were saying anything particularly bad. It's other people who just, they cannot sleep at night knowing this group exists. They can't let people just make up their own mind on how they feel about games and all of this politics in general. Now, the Steam message that this person got, I believe this is it. I won't read all of this, it's just the usual corporate speak, but it's from Steam, which does make this a bit disappointing, because Steam are usually pretty hands-off with this stuff. They don't take sides in any sort of ideology nonsense. They usually just do their own thing. But we can see here that they say, hello, we're reaching out about a large amount of unmoderated content within your Sweet Baby Inc detected group's discussion hub that violate Steam's rules and guidelines. As a Steam user, you agree to abide by these rules, blah, blah, blah. You're basically going to get your group banned if this doesn't stop. That seems to be what the gist of it is. Now, as he said, the discussion group thingy here. It doesn't really need to be here, and really, you could probably take the discussion somewhere else. It doesn't have to be on Steam. It's obviously disappointing. It should be able to exist here so people can talk about it, but if the alternative is this is getting banned and taken down, I'd prefer the discussion just happens elsewhere. So I don't blame this guy for doing this. I think that this curator getting more and more followers is much more important than risking it being taken down, even though that absolutely sucks and shouldn't happen. So I think he's done the right thing. It is just a shame. So again, 200,000 followers and counting. I hope this continues to grow. I'm sure it will. I did mention that Kotaku made absolute fools of themselves as well, and they predictably have put out an article, and my skin's sort of crawling just from being on this website, but I'm going to push through because some of this is quite funny. We could see the article itself. Sweet Baby Inc doesn't do what some gamers think it does. No, one company isn't forcing diversity into all your favorite games. Now, this is meant to be some sort of win. No, it's not Sweet Baby Inc that's doing it. It's every video game company. Almost all of them are rotten to some extent and want to force this crap onto you, so it's all totally fine. Again, this literally seems to be the argument, and I've mentioned this before, that at least to me, the whole thing with Sweet Baby Inc, it's not just about that particular consultancy. It's just the whole mindset of a video game developer being willing to hire these morons to muck around with their story and to inject more of this crap into their games. Not me. I don't think anyone else has ever said that the video game companies themselves, they are full with these blue-haired Twitter users, at least Twitter back in the old days. These people have been injecting this stuff for years, so this is nothing new, but I just really liked the idea of them singling out Sweet Baby Inc because they just kind of represent everything that's wrong. But it doesn't mean they're the only ones that are wrong. This has been going on all the time. There's other consultancies doing similar diversity-focused work, and, of course, the video game developers themselves, whether it's Warner Brothers, Microsoft, Sony, all their studios have these same sorts of people. But that's what it's about. This whole defense of going, no, Sweet Baby Inc are not causing everything. It's already happening. Yes, exactly. That isn't a good defense, because that is the very essence of what we're not happy with. Now, this article, it is written by one Alyssa Mercant. I think that's right, I don't really care. But she also had a Twitter post not too long ago as well. So this is the sort of person that we're dealing with. Hi, you can't be racist against white people. Thanks for tuning in. This is the mindset that we're dealing with. And are we going to trust this person to write an objective article that looks at the facts, looks at both sides? Doubt. I don't think that's going to be the case. And I'm not even going to pick into sort of what's wrong with this, but I will say this person looks to have the same coloured skin as me, and yet they seem to just shit on themselves. Let's talk about ourselves like we're totally worthless. Yeah, that sounds like a great mindset to have. So the article we see, Sweet Baby Inc is not the largest narrative design company in the games industry, nor is it solely responsible for the characters and stories in recent high-profile releases like Alan Wake, God of War, and Suicide Squad. But good luck telling some gamers that. Late last month, one of the company's consultants discovered a Steam group dedicated to detecting games that Sweet Baby Inc has worked on. The purpose? To encourage people to avoid these games, because the group had deemed SBI Sweet Baby was pushing a woke agenda by working towards greater diversity, equity, and inclusion. The Steam group now has more than 100,000, 200,000 now, you're a bit late on this. The conversation around Sweet Baby has ignited a fundamentally misinformed, Gamergate-esque firestorm. Its employees have faced rampant harassment as a direct result. Hang on, they were the ones calling for harassment. The group existed, and that was it. People followed on Steam so they could avoid this company's games, anything that they had involvement with. And then it was Sweet Baby Inc's employees who were harassing the person who created the group. They were trying to get their personal Steam account banned with all of their games on it. They essentially wanted to lock them out from their own Steam library just for pointing out games that Sweet Baby Inc had involvement with. So they're supposedly so confident about this equity and all they're injecting, but then they're also so fearful that if anyone finds out all of the games that they've been involved in, that they've worked on, people might run away. They might not want to have a bar of it. So it doesn't sound like they're too confident in their own work. But again, this is gold. You talk about harassment. If they were getting harassed, they totally brought it on themselves. It wasn't because of the group. It was because they instigated it. They were harassing people, calling everyone the usual, you're an ist, you're a that. Suck it up. That's all I can say. Don't throw stones at a glass house if you can't hack it. And she goes on to say, I spoke with several employees of Sweet Baby Inc to learn what the company actually does, and how the misunderstandings of its role in the industry highlights a far broader problems. Oh, there's going to be problems, and I'm guessing that I'm going to be to blame. Anyone thinking like me is going to be the real problem. Aha, I've solved the case. What bad actors think companies like Sweet Baby Inc do? I have a feeling I'm one of these bad actors. The games industry has had its fair share of struggles lately, from massive layoffs to wildly expensive games like Suicide Squad falling short of expectations. Yeah, because it's total garbage. It was Exhibit A in everything not to do when it comes to making something players may actually enjoy and that they're actually asking for. According to the loudest members of the Sweet Baby Inc Detector Discord, the company is directly responsible for those failures, not the studios that employed them in the first place because of the content Sweet Baby allegedly forced into games. Now, I don't really believe this person because they're just going to look for their own narrative. They've set out to try and prove that gamers are putting all of the blame for games being terrible, a lot of them these days, just being lazy cash grabs, and trying to suggest gamers are saying it is all Sweet Baby's fault. I do not see that very often. I see most people acknowledge that a lot of these companies are rotten themselves, the actual devs who are building the games. But then the fact that they also are willing to spend these budgets, despite laying half the staff off and all of that crap, they still spend money. They manage to find it under the bed or in the dresser. They manage to find enough money to pay these idiots at Sweet Baby to inject more crap, more nonsense into the games. So it feels more like the final straw, not like this is the only problem and that's it. That's what most people are saying. I very rarely see people say if Sweet Baby didn't exist, everything would be roses, it would all be fine in gaming. Absolutely far from it. This is just more lies, more agenda pushing. That is really it. And then this person tries to use this tweet to basically disprove everything about Sweet Baby. The original tweet says, the prevailing theory is that if it weren't for Sweet Baby, Saga Anderson would have been betrayed by a white woman. Is that true? Well, it's impossible to say, but does it matter? Melanie LeBeur did a great job in the role. And then someone who I assume is a dev who worked on this game, Saga Anderson, says it's absolutely not true. And the evidence supposedly here is that because the devs wanted a person of color to play the role in this video game, the devs themselves wanted to, not necessarily Sweet Baby, that apparently means that Sweet Baby aren't a problem, and this is all a big boogeyman from gamers, and we're all just old men yelling at Cloud. No one said that the devs themselves did not also want this garbage. That to me, and I'm sure many others, is exactly the point of it. The companies that are willing to hire Sweet Baby in the first place, they're willing to spend budget on a company that serves no purpose except to inject a very specific brand of politics, ideology into these games. They're willing to do that. These companies want to do that. I don't want to support a company, and I don't really want to play games from devs that have that as their main priority. Instead of taking that money and using it to actually improve the game, you're flushing it down the toilet by hiring Sweet Baby, and then all the crap that comes with it. No, I don't want to play your game. That's what it's about. As I've said, in an ideal world, a consultancy like Sweet Baby can absolutely be started. I've got no problem with that. But in an ideal world, it goes bankrupt day one, no one hires them, they go out of business, because who the hell would want to spend money on that nonsense? That is the ideal world scenario. But unfortunately, that's not the case because these devs, a lot of them share the same mindset as Sweet Baby. And therefore, they're making money. They're getting plenty of work because these idiots, whoever's hiring them, they play along with it. They play along with this whole thing about, oh no, we need to make sure DEI or all this crap's going into the game or it's going to be really, really bad. And the truth of this is even if some of these companies Sweet Baby works with, even if they're not totally corrupted with this mess, they actually do presentations. They've said it themselves. The CEO said it herself, the co-founder or something. She basically implied that, hey, all of our double agents out there, by double agents I mean people who work at the video game companies, they hate games, and all they want to do is put woke politics into video games. That's their sole purpose in life, essentially. But they hate games, they hate gamers. There is seemingly a lot of people like that out there, so I'll call them double agents. Sweet Baby implied that those people should try and terrify management, the marketing teams, into pressure them into hiring Sweet Baby and saying, if we don't get more diversity into the games, then you're going to get cancelled online, we better do it. And then some out-of-touch executives, maybe they buy into it. So that's even me being generous, best case scenario. I don't think that's always the case. I think a lot of the devs are just full of these blue-haired weirdos, purple-haired, strange people who want this in there in the first place. So trying to say it's not all Sweet Baby's fault, the companies want this stuff, that is not a defense, my friend, because that is the whole problem in the first place, that this should not be the case. And if we continue on here, I found this bit particularly interesting. Sweet Baby Inc isn't forcing diversity, it's happening naturally. Though these kinds of social media posts argue that companies like Sweet Baby Inc somehow force game studios to include diverse characters and storylines, the reality is vastly different. Sweet Baby Inc is a narrative design company, meaning most of its work is focused on writing stories and dialogue. They are not a DEI consultancy firm. Well, they might as well be. What is the difference? They're a narrative design company, but everything they do is literally about diversity. So you can play around with, oh, but it says on their website this and all of that, but I'm gonna trust the actions. We've seen them in action. We know the facts. They are absolutely that sort of consultancy. They've got one focus, worldview, ideology. They don't care about video games. That means they ensure a game's plot points make logical sense and are satisfying to players. And that characters speak and behave in consistent ways. Yes, satisfying if you are on at one extreme end of the political spectrum. Otherwise, no, and they'll say, well, games aren't for you. There was literally a post like that the other day. Games are not for right-wingers, because if you don't want this crap in there, then you must be on the far right. Oh, you're very bad. Narrative designers may also provide a final round of polish, like a Hollywood script doctor. For example, the team worked on Suicide Squad long after the story was written, and even they joined just to write in-game ads, audio logs, and NPC barks, CEO Kim Belair tells me over video call. So you would think she's trying to imply, oh, it was harmless. They worked on Suicide Squad and, oh, they might have put a note or two, an audio log here and there, but that's it. They couldn't have possibly done any damage, right? Well, you may remember back around the time that Suicide Squad came out, you may have noticed this little number, where there was the files of Lex Luthor, which is essentially just like a little note in the menu or something. It's not a big part of the story, but people did pick up that Lex Luthor, in his notes, I'm going to read you this post. This sums it up in one sentence. Lex Luthor writing toxic masculinity was the last thing I expected to see today. So they managed to worm toxic masculinity as a term into a little note, a little file, a little log into the game. And this person pretends, oh no, they're just touching things up. They're just doing a bit here and there. That is an exhibit A of what we are talking about. You just want to read a little tidbit, a little sprinkle on top of the story, and you're hit with this Redditor tier writing that's absolutely pathetic. It kills the immersion. And you think, you know what, I'm actually paying potentially to play this garbage to entertain myself. What am I doing with my life? This person tries to defend it, but We have evidence. And even if someone at Sweet Baby wasn't responsible for that, which I really question because they've literally specified that Sweet Baby were writing the small little tidbits within Suicide Squad, and even if it was an internal employee who wrote that, it wasn't a Sweet Baby employee, it just proves once again that this industry, at least in the narrative department, is full of incompetent hacks. They're all pretty much clowns. We've had it. So we want to know about this. If a company's willing to hire Sweet Baby, everyone else who works there is probably an idiot, and we want to avoid the game. It's just a clue. It's a stamp on the game to say, aha, these people are morons. Let's look somewhere else for our entertainment. Let's go elsewhere. That is the point. This whole idea, this whole pathetic article, which bangs and drones on and on about how, no, Sweet Baby aren't the devil, because so many of the video game companies love all of this DEI. All they want to do is educate you. They just want to spread a positive, nice message. There's no agenda here. You can hear it from Sweet Baby themselves, who basically speak for a lot of these writers in the video game industry, where they say, we are a narrative company. That primarily is our work. This is someone from Sweet Baby Inc. I think it is the co-founder speaking, by the way. We are not censors. We have no interest in false diversity or in tokenization. We have an interest in making stories better and making characters more interesting, and in developing a stronger language around narrative design. They say that, but again, it's always in the actions, because I guarantee that if you made a character that looked like old school Lara Croft, they'd tap you on the shoulder and they'd say, hang on a minute. I mean, I don't think this character is interesting. And you go, hang on, she looks fine. I think gamers would like this sort of character. No. I think we just need to change this a little bit. It's not about tokenization or false diversity, but I think we need to change this. If you don't want to do that, maybe it's best that you leave and we take over the writing duties and we do our thing. You wouldn't want us to have a chat to the bosses, would you? And let them know that there's going to be maybe hell to pay if you don't follow things and do things our way. That's kind of the mindset. It's always patronizing. It's never direct to your face. They're always too scared to do that. They're very manipulative, all of these sorts of people. So you know the way that it's always going to go. And again, the point of this article, they're trying to say it's not all Sweet Baby. It's the entire industry that is corrupt, that is focused not on entertainment, but the entire medium. You can actually take something out of this article, which is to say this is more important than ever. This is a stepping stone for us as gamers to say we have had it. We want no more of this, whether it is Sweet Baby or other companies. Let's keep the number going up. They've tried to threaten this. Even Steam isn't completely immune. I really want to say, because Steam's done a lot of good things, that I hope it was like an automated message, because they got so many reports, it just flicks something out. I really don't think deep down that they would ban this group, especially with this many followers, because it's just going to create a shitstorm for them. I think if there has to be some sort of compromise so Steam don't just get bombarded with total nonsense, if the discussion has to happen off the platform, it's not a good thing, but I'd prefer that than to see this get banned. So hopefully the owner of this, they're a little bit careful, because we know how corrupt all this crap is, and we just see this continue. It should not get taken down. If it does, that's when people should be very angry, very upset. That's where it would be understandable. But in the meantime, I hope it continues. It's a great thing. And then hopefully we can move on to eliminating all of this nonsense across the board. That's what I want to see. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.